Hey there guys, Bo here with Top Deck Cards and Games, and I'm going to be doing a deck profile for Magic. So I have John Midrange here for you guys, and I'm going to walk you through and just show you how this deck works as far as the cards are concerned. So I really like this deck a whole lot right now just because Rep Decay and Lightning Bolt are pretty much like always good. And right now it seems to be even better with like all these Collected Company decks and like the Elf decks emerging. They're playing a whole bunch of 3 CMC or less dudes, and Abrupt Decay is conveniently pretty good against them. So to start things off, as far as the creatures are concerned, we're playing a set of Bobs. Bob is just insane for the matchups where both you and your opponent are just trying to grind each other out, and you're just trying to get as much card advantage as possible. Usually you hope he doesn't hit your bigger stuff like your Tasigur, your Olivia, stuff like that, and you hope you're either revealing lands or some of the other things in here that are like 1 or 2 converted mana cost, like our Tarmogoyf, which we're playing a playset of as well. Tarmogoyf is just insane as far as the value you get out of him for just the 2 mana. So your Tarmogoyf's going to be a beater. You're never really going to be playing him unless it's going to be out of Lightning Bolt range. So you always want to be casting your Tarmogoyf when it's at least big enough to survive a Lightning Bolt with state-based effects resolving and whatnot. So yeah, 4 Goyfs, 4 Dark Confidants. I'm also playing 3 Scavenging Ooze. So I actually think that this card might go up to 4 because this card's just insane against the company decks that are trying to combo off with different like Anafenza interactions and like Malira interactions, Kitchen Finks going to the grave, and Murderous Redcaps and whatnot. If you can cut them off from interacting with their graveyard by eating their stuff for 1 green, it's just insane. And the Scavenging Ooze itself is just really good for attrition. It just provides a whole lot of synergy with all the stuff that you're going to be doing. You're just going to be playing very, very grindy, getting your opponent away from their cards, either with forcing them to discard, blowing up their stuff on board. So being able to eat stuff with the Ooze, make him bigger, gain some life back, and also interrupt any graveyard strategies is really insane. I'm playing 1 Olivia and 1 Tasigur, so these are the higher end cards. The Olivia is really great whenever you and your opponent are both kind of in top deck mode, and especially if your opponent's playing a fair creature deck or something that isn't just going to find a way to beat you out of nowhere. Having a huge mana sink is really great for her. Being able to make yourself bigger is insane as well, while also dealing 1 damage and distributing per 2 mana that you invest in it, and also stealing creatures for the 5 mana if they're a vampire, which you can turn him into vampires with the first ability. Stealing your opponent's dudes for 5 is also great, and if you can do it for 7 at the end of their turn, that's also really insane. The Tasigur, pretty much like the same thing goes for it. This is just great on advantage as far as efficiency for the things you've already played in the given game. Your Tasigur is going to be fueled off of your fetch lands that you're casting, your disrupt spells for their hand, like Inquisition and Thoughtseize, and also any of the lower end stuff, your Lightning Bolts, your Abrupt Decays, things of that nature, and any creatures that you might have had go to the graveyard. One thing to be cautious of with Tasigur is what you're dealing away based on what your opponent has in their grave, because you don't want to absolutely depower the Goyf. As far as other things are concerned, we are playing 3 Liliana of the Veil. So the Lily's really great for just disrupting your opponent's hand again. You want to have more ways to just continually apply pressure, and Liliana is pretty good at it. Especially when you're playing against control decks or other attrition-based decks. Also, forcing your opponent to sack is pretty important in matchups like Boggles. If your opponent doesn't have a way to fetch up their Dryad Arbor, if they don't keep a fetch land open and can't fetch Dryad Arbor, you might have just insanely unpieced their entire strategy. It's otherwise good against decks that aren't playing like Lingering Souls and just a bunch of like O1s like Birds of Paradise and like Noble Hierarch decks. This card's pretty good against them. As far as other disrupts go, we have 3 Thoughtseize just to take basically anything and lose 2 life for it. Anything that isn't a land. We have the 3 Inquisitions for 3 CMC or less cards out of their hand. A set of Bolts just because it's a really efficient way to burn away your opponent's cards and then maybe like eat them with Scavenging Ooze or just burn them directly to the face. And as far as the other stuff, the higher end removal we have 4 Abrupt Decays. Some people play less than 4. Some people play as little as 1 or no Abrupt Decays at all, which I think is incorrect. I absolutely love this card. I can see myself going down to 3, however, playing it at 4 is also pretty acceptable. However, there is merit to not playing as many just because of any shifts in the meta you could assume in your locals and whatnot. But I think 4 is just fine. 4 and 3 are just fine numbers to be playing of it. Terminate is also seeing a whole lot more play. I'm playing 2 of them. It's just a catch-all for everything. It hits Tassigurs, Gurmag Anglers, and anything in between. 2 Kolaghan's Commands. So the Kolaghan's Command is just another one of those versatile cards that hits a whole lot. You can distribute 2 damage, you can blow up an artifact, bring a creature back from your grave to your grip, and you can force your opponent to discard a card. So those are your optimal modes that you can use, and all of them in some combination are going to be good against whatever your opponent you're actually playing with. We have 1 Maelstrom Pulse to wrap it up. So the Maelstrom Pulse is kind of like the Abrupt Decay. It catches all for the permanents that your opponent's playing. Honestly, like there's some matchups where it's just not really that optimal, but most times the Maelstrom Pulse ends up being like just a really awkward card that ends up being useful against like a Karn or like an Ugin that your Tron player has played and you don't really have another way to actually get around it. So that, as far as the spells, is what we're rolling with here. As far as the lands, we'll just take a quick glance at the lands and then I'll take you through the sideboard. So for the lands, the distribution that I have are 8 fetch lands, so 4 Verdants, 4 Wooded Foothills. As far as man lands are concerned, 3 Raging Ravines and 1 Treetop Village. For quick lands, we have 3 Black Cleave Cliffs, if I can talk today. We have, I think, 5 Shocks, so 2 Overgrowns. I was actually tampering with these numbers a whole lot as far as how many shots I actually wanted to have and how many fetchable things, but 2 Overgrowns, 2 Blood Crypts, and 1 Stomping Ground for our searchable shocks that we want to find. Usually you're going to be casting them at the end of the turn, and you're going to be fetching for them and have them just enter tapped so you're not losing huge increments of life. 1 Urborg, just as another kind of pseudo-basic swamp that helps you with your mana base. Also could help your opponent, but usually we're not too worried about it. 1 Woodland Cemetery. Some people play Mire, some people play Woodland Cemetery. I mean, either way, I think just the Woodland Cemetery is just fine. I actually didn't have the sub for it anyway, but the Woodland Cemetery I like a whole lot. Just playing like turn 1 fetch land or turn 1 tapped shock land into the Woodland Cemetery is usually like A-okay. And as far as basics, I have 2 swamps and 1 forest. So that's the land base. So it's 35 and 25 for lands. I actually like going up to 25 lands as opposed to the 24 that you would usually see for these types of Jund decks. And it seems to work out pretty well, especially because you're going a little bit higher. You're playing your Tasker and your Olivia. Now, sure, you can delve with the Tassiger, but sometimes your opponent might just be eating stuff like with Scavenging Ooze and trying to keep you away from it, and I am all familiar with that strategy as well. Sometimes you see your opponent could be playing the Tassiger, or they're playing like red-blue, splash-black. You just start eating stuff away from their graveyard so they can't potentially get a Gurmag Angler or a Tassiger out there. So yeah, that's the main board. As far as the sideboard is concerned, it really just depends on the meta that you're playing in. But I have like one Ancient Grudge, 1 Liliana of the Veil, 3 Fulminator Mages to blow up lands. So useful in the matchups like the Amulet deck, which is seeing a whole lot more play now than it was before. Also against Tron, it's a very necessary card to have. Anger of the Gods for the Malira / Anafenza Collecting Company decks. Also good against like tokens. Somewhat good against Merfolk as well. It's kind of awkward whenever they have a bunch of wards and they can flash ward in against you, but against any of the smaller aggressive strategies, Anger is really good. Huntmaster, as far as another attrition card that's really good. In the mirror match, the Huntmaster is just insane. It's also another way to gain back some life, and being able to utilize his flips is just really great for you, especially if your opponent's really concerned about doing stuff at the end of your turn. 2 Kitchen Finks for the mirror match, just because If you're playing 1-for-1 removal with your opponent's stuff, the Kitchen Finks provides 2 bodies that your opponent actually has to get through, and it also gains you back some life, which can help with the Bob triggers you might be losing life off of. Grafdigger's Cage for the matchups like the Collected Company deck. Illness in the Ranks for token decks as well as Splinter Twin, because Splinter Twin makes token copies, so the tokens get -1/-1, so if they're playing Pestermite, their Pestermites die. If they're playing Deceiver, their Deceiver will have 0 power, so the Illness effectively kind of helps you get around them Splinter Twinning you. Now, of course, they can like Cryptic Bounce it and then just go for combo, but it buys you a little bit of time to be able to find like an Abrupt Decay to kill their dude, and just find some easy ways out of it. It doesn't really help you against like the Deceiver, or not Deceiver, Restoration Angel Kiki combo. However, Illness in the Ranks is just good against Splinter Twin Deceiver, Splinter Twin Pestermite. One Back to Nature, just kind of as a easy way to get around Boggles. Boggles isn't really as huge anymore, but with Daybreak Coronet being reprinted in Modern Masters 2015, it might kind of spike people to want to play that deck a little bit more. Yeah, granted, some of the other cards are harder to find anyway, but it's just kind of on my radar that card got reprinted, that it's perfectly viable for somebody to go, oh hey, that's a cool card, might as well just build Boggles now. So Back to Nature is just sitting in there. It's good against other matchups. So if you see your opponents like siding in other enchantments, then just the Back to Nature is just an easy way to side it in and just kind of have it catch some loose ends here and there. Like even just it playing against like the Amulet deck, if they have Hive Mind, like I know I'll side in the Back to Nature against the Hive Mind. If they combo and beat me anyway, then so be it. But at least I can actually cast Summoner's Pact playing this deck. One Rakdos Charm for like the Affinity matchup. Also gets rid of Graves, and it's good against Splinter Twin if they just make infinite dudes, and then you just go, alright, well, we both lose life equal to our dudes that we control. One Spellskite just as a redirect target for things like Boggles and Splinter Twin. Also good for Burn. Not amazing against Burn, but it's still a pretty okay card against Burn. And one Golgari Charm. So the Golgari Charm's cool against any of the strategies that are making a bunch of like small tokens, like the Lingering Souls decks and things of that nature. So that wraps up the deck profile here for Jund. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully I was at least in-depth enough with how things work and what cards are appropriate for what. If you guys have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. You guys can ask anything that you're not quite so sure about, and I can go over it in the comment section and reply for you guys. Remember to like the video and subscribe for more content of the various variety of Yu-Gi-Oh stuff that DJ's doing and Magic stuff that I quite occasionally do. But until next time, guys, thank you for watching, and peace out.